host Dexy, and once again, we're doing it doggy style. So let's get straight into it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, a very impressive victory against the previously undefeated Hawks last week. It takes our season total to a healthy 8.5 wins from 10 games, which is our best start to a season since 1946. Now, it's fair to say that Hawthorn plays the Aurora Stadium better than anyone else. I don't think many people dispute that, but to beat them, you need two very important ingredients: skillful players and smart players. Fortunately for Rodney Eade, he has a team of warriors with those ingredients. The strategy and tactics he implemented last week were genius-like, a case of guerrilla warfare, it's fair to say. It was clear from the start that the Bulldogs were fired up. Speaking of fired up, what was Alistair Clarkson thinking when he fired up at the post-match press conference? Nasty words were exchanged between the Hawks coach and a journo, but that's not for us to worry about, so let's forget about it and continue on doing it doggy style. Great news this week: 18-year-old promising jet Callum Ward will make his AFL debut. The former Spotswood and Western Jets junior has been given Luke Darcy's number 14 jumper number. So from that, it's fair to say that the expectations put on the young star are fairly huge. Ward also joins Everett as the other inclusion for this week against the Saints. Handy ins for sure. Unfortunately though, Robert Murphy will miss this week's game due to a one-match suspension for negligent head-high contact against Hawk Xavier Ellis. Certainly don't agree with the decision, but the AFL Tribunal has stamped down on head-high, hip and shoulders. Intentional or not, Murphy didn't have any malice. He didn't have any intention to hurt Ellis. It was just a case of bad luck and bad timing for him. The other bit of bad news for the Dogs is the 3-week hamstring injury sustained to Tim Callan. He's been very impressive since making his Bulldogs debut in round 2, but it gives Everett a chance to strut his stuff this week, so at least there's some positive that comes out of it. It's fair to say, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I'm sure Rodney Eade has plans for Everett to be a part of the Western Bulldogs side come September. Now, last time around against the Saints, they surrendered a 37-point quarter-time lead and lost by 38 points. For those not good with maths, that equates to a 75-point turnaround. We were very impressive after quarter time, and hopefully this week there'll be more of that to come, like in the way we played the second, third and fourth quarters against the Saints in round 3 this year. Now folks, we're going straight into the Doug Hawkins wing for some stats you may not be aware of. Did you know that Cooney, Murphy, Ackermanis and Minson have all combined for 69 goals 21 this year? That is very accurate in front of the big sticks, and when you have 4 potent goal kickers like them converting through the big sticks more often than not, it's fair to say that it doesn't surprise that we've started so well to the season. Now, some more stats. The Bulldogs are second in contested marks this year. In previous years, we've had critics saying, if Plan A doesn't work out for the Bulldogs, they can't exactly resort to Plan B because they don't have the powerful, tall marking, strong forwards to take contested marks. Well, it's time to eat your words because facts are facts, and we are second in contested marks. We are also second in contested possessions, and these same critics in previous years have been saying, the Bulldogs lose because they're too small, they get bumped off the ball too easily, they're not physical enough in contests. Well, second in contested possessions, that means we're better than 14 other teams. Do you want to eat your words again? Stats are stats, and I'm reading them to you, so you better listen and take care and take note, critics, because the Bulldogs mean business. We are serious, and we are going to bark all the way to September, whether you like it or not. The Bulldogs are also first in goals this year. Doesn't surprise since we've scored the most points. But another impressive stat is that we're first in clearances. First in clearances. The previous 5 years, we have been in the bottom 8 as far as clearances are concerned. What does that mean? That means that in the pre-season, we've bulked up, added some extra muscle, and we've attacked clearances with one prerogative. Get first hand to the ball and set up your teammates. Now, the last bit of stats that I'm going to introduce today is that Everett and Ward become the 27th and 28th players the Bulldogs have used this year, which sits third on the list of least players used. That's pretty impressive. So, let me just tell you, there are guys playing for Williamstown. You may not have heard of them. There's one player called Guy O'Keefe who should make his debut, if not this year, definitely next year. Brennan Stack, you may or may not have heard of him, but if he can improve on his fitness, which seems to be his only downside at the moment, he'll definitely be wearing the red, white and blue very soon. And of course, Jared Grant, who Shane Clayton has invested a lot of faith in after we took him with selection number 5 in last year's draft, is a full forward prospect who is very good below his knees. Hasn't exactly set the world on fire for Williamstown in his first season on the Bulldogs list, but look, he's only 18 and things will get better for him, so be optimistic about him. Alright, well, that's it for the stats today. Now I'm going to read out the awards that I'm going to introduce for last week's best player and worst player against Hawthorn. Rolling down the red carpet for the best player, well, those honours go to Adam Cooney. The explosive and versatile Cooney, that is. Now, for the worst player, an award I call the Whip, this week it goes to... drum roll! No one, that's right. Absolutely no one deserves the Whip after last week's stunning performance against Hawthorn, and hopefully against St Kilda this week, no player will be deserving of the Whip again. When you have, well, look, take for instance last week against Hawthorn, I thought our best players were Cooney, Ackermanis, Murphy, Johnson, Griffin, Cross, Gilby, the list goes on and on. There is a possibility that you could have had all 22 players in the best players last week, and that doesn't happen too often. When that happens, you're going to win every single time. Make sure you understand that. We should have actually beaten the Hawks by 10 goals last week, but inaccurate kicking cost us a bit of percentage. Not that percentage means all that much to us since we drew with Richmond, but if it does mean something, Sydney are only 2 games behind us and have a better percentage. So if it comes down to Bulldogs and Sydney fighting for a position in the top 4, we're going to need percentage to creep ahead of them. Now, I'm going to introduce a weekly trivia question, and this week, before I go, I'll wrap up with this trivia question, and simply be the first to reply to this clip with the correct answer, and you will win a prize. It's only 1 entry per person, so don't have a second guess, don't have a third, fourth or fifth guess, or don't have a 75th guess, because I'll only take your first answer. Now the question is, of the current Bulldogs, Weston Johnson have played the most games for the club, but what I want to know is, which current Bulldog has played the 3rd most amount of games for the club? Again, simply leave your details with the correct answer, and I'll get back to you with a prize. I'll take you out with my prediction for this week. The Bulldogs to beat St Kilda by 13 points, and Scott Welsh to kick the first goal. Can Doggies!